She's supposed to get. I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna start this meeting. It's after the time the chairman of this committee is running a few minutes late, so I'm gonna start the meeting. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. First item on our agenda, we will move down. In fact, we're gonna move it all the way down because they're not here. So I will go with an update from Tim Drews and then the resolution, discuss the resolution for the census. Thank you. So, City Clerk, they will be the last item on it will be on the agenda. Okay. Sorry to be late. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for letting me come tonight. The reason I'm here is to give an update on the water and sewer projects that were authorized to be begun in January. So I wanted to give a really quick update on where we're at, but mainly want to talk about tree removals, which are going to be extensive on these projects. So where we're at in the process, we've done all the survey work that we need to do. We've done the geotechnical analysis, which means soil borings and corings to know what soils we're dealing with out there. And now we're in the plan development, excuse me, I had a cold, plan development stage. So that leads to number 2 on the item that I've handed out to you. We have deep sewers on these projects, some in the order of 20 to 25 feet deep, which means you've got to dig down 25 feet, you've got a trench width, and then you have a slope to get back up to a safe trench, which means that we are basically removing everything from right of way to right of way for the most part. And what that means is trees that are out there now are going to be impacted. So what I've done is put together a couple of handouts here for you to review. The first being just a quick reminder of the project area. Of course, it includes Stevens Street. It includes Territorial and Benton Street, Highland, some Wall, Pipestone, Vineyard, and Maple. So that's the key map that keys to these other maps that I've given you. And I guess I want to start in a reverse order and go through Stevens Street and then Territorial and Benton and Highland and then down to Pipestone and the others. So if you look at these sheets, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a number, and this is the number 4, corresponds to the number on the map. So this is Stevens Street. Stevens Street is very narrow now. It's gravel. Of course, the road is almost gone. When we build this road, we'd like to build it up to current standards, which would be, it's a narrow, probably 16-foot road right now. We'd like to widen it out to 22 feet to make it something that's actually usable and meets current standards. In order to do that, we have to clear the trees from basically from right of way to right of way. In this case, on Stevens Street, a lot of it is scrub brush, but there are some significant trees out there. So anything, we normally quantify trees as anything bigger than 6 inch. And in this case, there are 37 trees on Stevens Street, 20 on one side and 17 on the other side, that will need to be removed as part of this, along with the scrub, the smaller stuff. So that's the first impact that I want to talk about. The second sheet is labeled 3B, and this is territorial. And this, you'll see the strip view here. Anything with a red X is a tree that's going to be removed. In this case, there are 12 trees that are impacted on territorial between Winans and Sealy. Basically, it's every tree on that stretch of the road. Similarly, you go to sheet 3B, it's Benton Street. There are 15 trees on that road. Once again, almost every tree on that road was going to be impacted. And then I go to 3A, which is the next sheet, and this is Highland. 41 trees on Highland that are going to be impacted. So I think you're starting to get the idea that this is some major impact to these streets and the look of the streets when we're all said and done here. The final stretches are on Vineyard and Maple. This is 1C and 2. There's 22 trees on those two streets. And then on Pipestone, actually Pipestone has very few trees right now, but there are a few in front of the church there at Bellevue that there's 7 trees there. So you add all that up, there are 134 trees that are going to be impacted by this project. So before we just went and started cutting them down, I wanted to come and let the public know, let you know that there is impact, and we basically are doing everything we can to work around them, but with some of these deep sewers, with having water main on one side of the road, storm sewer on one side of the road, sanitary sewers, as I said, deep, really with trench widths and where we need to be with separation distances between those utilities, we're going to be impacting quite a bit. The other thing I want to talk about is there are endangered bats in our area. There's the Indiana bat and the northern long-eared bat. Those bats won't, the federal government will not allow us to cut a tree down from April 1st till September 30th. So the only times we can cut are basically in the winter time from October 1st till March 31st, which really impacts the schedule of this project. Our intent, if everything goes as planned, would be to start these projects in mid-August. So with that said, basically August 15th till September 30th is a no tree cutting time frame, and we're kind of have our hands tied. So one of our suggestions would be to do the tree cutting ahead of time, like in March, before March 31st on some of these sections, and get that done. We don't have to remove stumps. All we have to do is cut the trees down and haul them away, or leave the wood for the property owners, whichever you decide to do. But basically, we would like to get something done, something going with some tree removals ahead of time. But as I said, we want to let people know that this is coming. We want to get feedback. We want to know what people are thinking and the reaction to it.
So I have a question, and I was wanting to answer that question. So they're going to remove the trees but leave the stumps there. So they're not going to grind those down, or those will be removed at a later time.
We would do those when the project actually happens. And it's basically, the feds don't really care about stumps, they care about trees, you know.
What I'm saying for the neighborhoods.
Yeah, for the
Stumps are a
neighborhoods.
mess.
They would be there for a few months until the projects actually got underway. Now, we could grind them now, but you really don't need to, I guess. So the other thing I wanted to just briefly talk about is, do we want to do a tree replacement plan? A lot of communities, when you cut trees down like this, you plant new trees. I mean, that's the right thing to do, and it'll, of course, make the area look better. It's going to take a while for a small caliber tree to grow to some of these bigger trees, but it's really, in my opinion, I think it's something we should definitely consider doing. So I guess my request tonight, or my conversation tonight, is really just to give you a heads up that this is coming. What we would like to do, if it's okay, is to go out for bids to get some of these trees on strategic sections, done, get bids end of February and try to get an award done early this weekend in March, so that we can get some of these trees cut down, so that these projects can actually happen in the time frame we want to do.
And I agree, but I think even for the neighborhoods, I know with the replacement program and the stumps, I would hate to see all of those trees being cut down.
I know.
And then the stumps being left there.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna cut down the trees, we need to remove those stumps. We might as well do it simultaneously.
That's perfectly A-okay.
Than to leave those stumps there.
Right.
Do you have any questions?
So you said y'all can't cut the tree down till when?
So, with these endangered bats, our time frame right now is we have to have the trees cut before March 31st. And then there's a no cutting window from March 31st until September 30th. So all summer long, we can't touch a tree. And it's just the rules of the game.
Madam Chair, because of the big time frame, we're talking about maybe just cutting and then go back and get the stumps, so that we can cut as much as we can. We can get the stumps down later.
I understand that, but a lot of times work gets left and it doesn't get done. That is
That's
true.
not gonna happen.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And again, my job is to say, we need it done so that it's not looking a mess for the neighborhoods, because at the end of March 31st, you have spring and summer coming up. So we have all of those big empty stumps in people's in the yards. So that's why I'm saying that. So I appreciate your suggestions, and I understand the time frame.
Right. Yeah, the good news is we can do the stumps in April. I mean,
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question.
So it's really, like I said, I just wanted to get the word out before this all comes down. I want to get feedback. I want to get, anybody that can give us any kind of feedback on this type of thing. We want to be transparent as we can.
I'd like to open it up real quick for audience questions that you may have on this item. You need to come to the mic. If you have a question about this item, come to the mic.
Which item?
That's the first one. I'm sorry, it's the, we have
How you doing? My name is
to add
Robert.
one.
The only question I got to say is, when he said something about, leaving the stuff for the residents, when they cut the tree down, you trying to figure out if they're gonna be responsible for it, the residents gonna be responsible for it. If you're gonna cut it down, you're responsible for it. I shouldn't have to come out of my yard and, remove nothing that you cut down. If you cut it down, you move it. And that's the one thing he said, that he don't know if they're gonna move it or is the residents gonna be responsible. The residents shouldn't be responsible. I'm not asking y'all to come cut the tree.
Madam Chair, what he's saying is if the resident wants to keep the trees, we'll take the responsibility for the trees.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that if they cut the tree down,
Yeah,
cause ain't no Benton residents gonna want you to leave that stuff in their yard or on their property or any of that. They're gonna want to remove, when they cut it down, they're gonna want to remove that day.
Unless they want the wood.
Unless they want the wood. That's what he was saying. If they want the wood, then they can. That's what he was saying, yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
But, the way he put it was, either the residents gonna clean it up, or it should be stated clearly that it's on the person that's cutting that tree down to clean that job off, unless otherwise stated by the resident of that property. It should be clearly stated like that. There's, they have that option. Not I come home tomorrow and
No, that's
I got
not.
trees in my yard. Cause I own a few houses in Ben Harbor, so I don't want to come to one of my rental properties tomorrow and I got a tree laying there. That's it.
Good evening, everyone. For clarity, which item are you on?
So that was one that was added to the agenda.
And
It
the
was an
name
update
of
that was
it
added.
is,
This was an update by Tim Jules. It was an update on the project that's supposed to be happening. It was one that was added. It was just added.
What's the topic?
So it is the preliminary design.
Okay, is it part of, the income tax,
No,
tree removal?
Water,
Okay.
water and sewer.
The water and sewer project.
Okay, the water and sewer project, okay. I heard him mention, it's in our RFP, who actually does that? Madam Chair.
who
Is
gives
it the
RC?
city or the grant holders that puts out the RFP, the contract for removal?
The engineers will put together the RFP.
Okay. I guess then I would ask, because I thought you had probably moved to Earth Day.
No, we haven't even gotten to that.
Okay, I know, but would you take into consideration, Avon Marsh, and working with, something that's coming up with the youth? We're trying to, set aside, I don't want to get ahead of it
Well,
though.
each item, so for this particular item.
I know,
there's a
but I'm
timeframe
getting
on it.
there, I'm
Okay.
getting there, because
Okay.
one thing has to do with the other. If in fact, we could incorporate something for some of the youth to, gain some type of stipend or something for the raking of the ashes from the trees. Well, I call them ashes, but you know what I'm saying. When you cut a tree down, it lets out quite a bit of debris from the tree. And I could see a couple of youth being on board with helping with the cleanup. But I do agree that once it starts, the whole thing should be removed, and it includes the roots. It's off the roots.
Madam Chair, um, the tree removal is just a disheartening thing to happen. And I know that if you're gonna do the sewage and different things underground, we're probably gonna lose some trees. But my question is, if the landowner wants to keep their trees, what process will it be to save their tree?
Madam Chair, only reason we're proposing those trees go down is because they'll be interfering with the project.
So there is no option for the homeowners.
Not if it's interfering with the project, you wouldn't want them to keep it.
So why would you say that they had an option? If
No, he was saying if, we were talking about replanting, so if they remove those trees, what kind of tree would the citizen or would the resident like to see be replanted in that spot once that tree is removed? The current tree will interfere with the project.
I
So
got
the
you.
proposal is to replant.
So it's the option for
For
planting a new
replanting
tree?
new trees,
Right.
yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, there's an option for that.
okay.
With contract, I believe it.
With our 25%, local business resolution, will that be in consideration in this? We do have a couple of Benton Harbor residents that do trees. And, over the years, I've asked them if they would do apprenticeship programs with us and train our people, and they agreed. So I would like to make sure that our local contractors get a differential treatment. I hate for us to always turn them down because they're not the lowest bidder, because a small company has a lot more expense than a large company. So I want to make sure that this project is accessible to Benton Harbor local businesses. And then definitely, there should be a plan to just replace the trees and replace them with things that are from our area. Some trees that just don't grow well, and as well as a recycling part of these trees. They should be recycled and reused. We use wood chips for everything. And we should be able to chip our own woods up and make sure that the residents come in and sometime during the year and pick up chips. We should not just let contractors take our wood away and not and not to actually reuse it or repurpose it or recycle it. So my most concern is the local contractors getting some part of that money. Is this the one where we borrowed $14 million? This is the project of $14 million.
There you go.
Well, I just want to make sure that our local contractors get some of that $14 million. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just for everybody's understanding, that 25% is what the council voted, and on every contract, that 25% applies. It's up to us to make sure that it happens.
There you go.
It's always good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't
I'm
have this
sorry.
question when I came here, but can that 25% be, can we get more later on through the chair?
So I guess the commission, that's something the commission will have to vote on, but we voted on 25%.
Did you ask the city manager for me to answer that question? So we can get out of
Can
the
it
way?
be more than 25? Of course. It can,
Okay,
it can be, but it's mandated 25.
for right now. Okay. To help the city out a little bit, I thought to mulch most of that wood, and a lot of it could be put on some of these city properties, and that would cut out that large lawnmower and the amount we pay for lawn service. Lay out some of that mulch over some of the city properties with nothing on them. I think we could save the city a little money too. And I'm definitely about us keeping our assets, like our wood, and being able to put it where it should go, back into the earth, and not be for sale on somebody, on the back end of somebody else's truck.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Any more questions on this item before we? Comments?
Good evening, Stephanie Scott Sims, Cornerstone Alliance, 80 West Main Street. I just have a couple questions about this. One, I didn't hear, approximately how many trees will be removed?
34.
134, and are all of those trees located in the right of way?
They are.
They are, okay. So you wouldn't need permission from the property owner to remove those. And then, what species of trees were you planning to replace them with?
That's up for debate or discussion.
Okay, I would just say, just my 2 cents is to make sure that they're native trees, disease
Absolutely.
tolerant, no ashes, maples, and
Our landscape architects know all about that stuff, yes.
that's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Or concerns or comments before we move on? All right, hearing none, the resolution for the census, 2020 census. I have to move you guys down, y'all were late. Thanks, you can.
That would be me again. May I approach? Good evening. Good evening. Mr. Duncan, of course. Again, my name is Stephanie Scott Sims, and I'm with Cornerstone Alliance at 80 West Main Street here in Benton Harbor. I'm just coming today to inform and get some feedback on an event that we're hosting. As you all know, 2020 is a census year, and you're probably aware too that Berrien County is at risk of losing a lot of money, almost $40 million, if we don't get an accurate count of the people in this county. As part of that, the Berrien Community Foundation awarded Cornerstone a grant to host a census informational event, which we're calling Tigers Count. This event is going to be held on Saturday, April 18th, and it's going to be at Union Park. And the intent is, well, let me back up. It's going to be a community fun day, so we're going to have all kinds of activities for the kids, food, games, giveaways, balloon twisting, face painting, bounce house, and more too. But the real intent is to attract people to the park to get them to fill out their census form. And so as part of the grant, Berrien Community Foundation is providing us with laptops, which we'll have there on site. And we will be encouraging, not requiring, but encouraging people to fill out their census card. At the same time, we'll be providing information about the census, because we know that there is some anti-government feeling. People are scared, people are nervous, people don't really know a lot about the census and what that information is used for. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So we're hoping to use this activity or this event as a way to draw people in, educate them about the census, and just allow them to have a great day. It's free, it's open to the public. The event time is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We've been in discussions with Ben Charter Township, because Union Park is so close to Ben Charter, the border. They're on board. They are intending to provide a fire truck or a police car for the kids to just sit in and take a look at, because kids love those things. We've also met with City Manager and Mr. McGinnis to discuss this event and the city support for this event. So again, we've also been in discussions with our Black Greek organizations about supporting this event and providing volunteers, as well as other local organizations. And so I wanted to come tonight to inform the commission about what's going on, but also to request the city's formal support of this event.
The chair is here.
Got any questions?
So I just real quick, I appreciate this. I had the opportunity to work for them 1 year, and it is a tough thing because people don't understand why the government needs all this information. And it is a lot of information. I think the survey is about 20 to 30 minutes to complete when they go through all the information. And so I can appreciate why you're doing it, and to do it this way to attract people. But I was just thinking about all of our local churches going in on a Sunday, not a Sunday, but a Saturday, getting support from them to actually come in and have those laptops set up. I understand why we're doing it and why it's important. But to feed our people, to get them to do something, sometimes can come off to me as offensive. It's sort of offensive to say, in order to get these people to fill this out, we're going to create a circus environment. So they come out. I know that's not the intent, but if I'm looking at this, that's how I feel. And so I understand it. I know why it needs to happen. But I think even approaching the churches or other communities to help pump this event up would have been another great way to do this. But I totally understand why. So those are my 2 cents about it.
No, Commissioner Henderson, I appreciate your comments, and that's why I'm here tonight, to get comments, to get feedback, because one thing I've been really talking about, and I've been talking to a lot of different people. We're talking about getting Mr. and Ms. Benton Harbor there. We want to get kids engaged as volunteers. And so one of the things I've really been focused on is that I don't want this is not a cornerstone event. This is a community event. This is an event where, you know, we stand to lose a lot in our community if we're not counted. And so, as you know, census data is used for everything, to fund federal programs, state programs, just everything, medical programs. And so it's vital that we try to get as many people to fill out their census forms as possible. And so I am open to all conversations, critiques, recommendations, suggestions. This is a community event.
It's one thing that worked, and I'll say this before I give you back the floor, is when we were doing filters. I know one of the local schools was one of those partners with the county. We had people coming in from all over. We set up in an open space, and people were just coming in to get those filters. But I think they would do the same thing to complete a census if they had the community support. And we're saying, come in to fill this out. Setting them up, you know, where people can come in and fill the information out as they're picking up their kids from schools, and that partnering maybe with the schools to actually do some of that. I understand why this is being done and why we need to do this, but
No, and one reason we decided to attract the kids is because kids are one of the most undercounted populations as under the census. Kids, people of color, people with disabilities, seniors, there's quite a few different populations that are what they consider undercounted. And so we figured, you know, this is a way to attract households with children and hopefully get them counted. But thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm like Ms. Henry said. She said, like, you go to the churches, and I think they'll back you up. A lot of churches around here. Got plenty of churches, and you know, just come on out. I think we'll back it up, and everybody will back it up.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, 2 cents in that it is definitely good. Just like both of them kind of led to doing some things leading up before this event, you know, take place. You know, like that, kind of like one-on-one, or door-to-door, or going to different places and explaining, and you know, then this could kind of end up being a, you know, get together and say, hey, you know, just appreciation or something, you know. So, no, the intent definitely is good. Just like to see some stuff, you know, in front of it too. So.
Yeah, and Commissioner Singleton, I totally agree with you, because I feel like personally, a lot of times our community is told what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, and not included on the front end. And so personally, I'm trying to avoid that. And actually I have, I'm hosting a group of a kind of a community committee to bounce ideas off. These are leaders from the community. We're meeting next week, and they're coming. We're gonna bounce ideas off. We're gonna talk about getting into the churches. So I'm trying to do, not just myself, but use other folks to do some of that footwork, so that we can spread the message, and so that the community feels like this is a community event by the community and for the community.
So basically, yes, Mr. Manager, we looking at just doing a showing
Doing the resolution.
support.
Yes. Want to just add also, make sure there's a real concentration on the housing developments.
City Manager, I completely agree too. One of the things, I have a meeting set up with the Dial-A-Ride. One of the things I'm going to ask them is to dedicate a bus to pick up people from our housing developments, kind of like a bus stop, dedicated bus stops, to bring them directly to the event. Because you're absolutely right, we need to get folks out, but sometimes people don't have a way to get there. And so that's gonna be my request to the Dial-A-Ride director.
Consensus. Commissioner.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, because it's needed. And when it first started through the chair, I had been thinking, because I get this stuff in the mail, I mean, they reaching out, am I the only one getting this stuff? Not only getting in the church is not going to be hard to do. I would just like to suggest we do something to try and help have a computer sitting there. Now, if the Census Bureau has these jobs, they should be paying someone to be stationed in these locations, which would be a great help, especially in our housing complexes. If in between time, in the meantime, we as elected officials have cards, the main card, and can send them to one of those locations. I mean, I think we all can help out, because a lot of the fighting and stuff that go on down here in Ben Harbor happen because money. Everybody wants some, we need some to get some things done. But if we won't stand up and allow ourselves to be counted for, that's money missing to get things done and services, better services for our community. So I thank you for every effort, and my hope and prayer is that you don't just get a lot of kids coming to the service, that those parents will show up. But it would be nice if you could give them a card, take this to your parents, tell them come on over. Yeah, we need you to be counted. People don't understand how important census is. It lightens up a heavy load. When they make those decisions in Washington, they know that this community is in greater need than that community. We've all been complaining about somebody else using us statistically. Let's use ourselves. Let's stand up and allow ourselves to be counted for. Thank you, young lady. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Commissioner Adams is absolutely right, and that's I'm going to actually contact the Berrien Community Foundation and yeah, Kathy Stady, and recommend that they do provide a computer to our housing developments, because she's absolutely right.
Can we get some cards? I have clients that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. And it is a very important thing for us to count ourselves. Everybody that know it, and we just need to repeat it to people that don't know it. Was one thing that I always find that I ask a big question. You say you got, Cornerstone got a grant for this. And I see there's a lot of giveaways and games and different things. How much was the grant? What does the grant require? And what is the outcome of all, I hear laptops, and after this goes away, what happens to that? It will go back to Berrien County, or what happens?
I can answer that. Commissioner Henry, so the grant award was for $2,200. We're matching that, $2,200, so the total budget is going to be $4,400. The laptops will be on loan from the Berrien Community Foundation. They're providing laptops as well as Wi-Fi hotspot access so that we can use them where there's currently no internet access. At the end of the event, the laptops will go back to the Berrien Community Foundation. The only reason that there won't be any information kept on the laptops, we're just using it for the internet access. lot of people don't realize this is the first year that the census is being done over the internet. So you can actually fill out, this is the first year that you can fill out your census form online, in addition to the paper form that you'll get in the mail. And you can use any computer to do that. But we know that in some of our communities, they don't have computer access or internet access. So that's why we're using the laptops. And so that's, did I answer all the questions? Okay.
And might add, your organization is not the only one here.
Correct.
Right, so you might be able to partner with some of the other organizations that get in the $2,200.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And you'll see that there's other organizations, quite a few that have received the same grants from the Berrien Community Foundation, and that will be doing census events all over the county. So we're not the only organization doing this.
Mr. Edwards, did you have?
No, she just answered it.
Okay.
Okay, just quickly, we had a meeting earlier, and this would be the perfect opportunity for somebody to have a computer at the water council thingy when it's set up. Is there a deadline on the census, through the chair? When is it?
Yes, so the census cards they'll start being mailed out in April, the beginning of April. And then people have technically they have until, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they have like about a month to fill out their census form. And then after that, if you haven't filled it out, they'll send you a couple reminders. And then if you still haven't filled it out, they'll start sending people to your door.
Okay, so that's a wonderful thing through the chair. But my thing is, if the water council is going to be coming in contact with a lot of the residents, it would be wonderful if our city manager could keep that in mind at their next meeting or contact even with the health department to work something out with that. Just wanted.
It's a good idea.
Mr. Duncan?
Just had one last question. A lot of information is going out and I'd like to know if 5G is part of if it has anything to do with this process. A lot of information has to go out.
That's a good question. I'm not really quite sure. I don't have an answer to that. But I will say that the census, this is probably going to be one of the quickest censuses that we've ever had. There's only 9 questions on this year's census. 9 questions, and they're not in-depth questions. They're questions like, how many people live in your household? How many kids are in your household under the age of 5? They're very, I would say, surface level, not like in the past where remember they used to have a short form and a long form, and they've cut that out, at least for this census period. So it's only 9 questions. So it's gonna be quick and not very in-depth.
Is there some way we could find out about that in your process? I know you're starting this and I wish you the best of everything, but the question is out and I would like my answer somewhere down the line.
I would say that you should, the woman that you should speak to, her name is Kathy Stady. Oh, okay, I'll give you that information.
All right, consensus to move this. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, just one more thing, I apologize. These flyers that I gave out, they're just kind of draft flyers. I'm in the process of getting like posters and flyers printed up. So if anybody wants some, they can definitely come to our office at any time and pick some up after today. I would say probably next week, sometime, so.
All right, thank you. Next item up for discussion is the senior PGA agreement. Mr. Manager.
Yes, I'd like to ask if anyone has any specific questions or desires or changes to make to their agreement. I'd like to get those so we can incorporate them into an agreement to get back to you. And we want to do that before you have another meeting, have a discussion among yourselves.
All right. Is it a deadline for the,
I'm gonna have to do it a deadline because we're getting up on time.
okay,
And let's say the first meeting in March, first meeting in March.
which meeting you talking about?
Commissioner, want to bring it back to committee?
Yes,
Okay, bring back to your first committee.
will that, we'll still be in the timeline, making sure everything.
Yeah, as far as I know.
All right, we'll bring it back.
So get those to me as soon as possible.
All right. So if you get your commissioners, if you get.
And I'll be sending that request out to all of the commissioners
Okay.
again.
All right.
I read it, where did we get the amount of money from? How did we come up with the amount that's on that contract, on that agreement?
That amount is not,
I'm sorry?
that's not even applicable. The one that's on the agreement, the one that we're gonna recommend that will be coming from actual accounts where we lose money, where we do not have any activity going, and how much that activity will be times the number of days.
I did get one on my, as an email, and it had a price on it, and it was different from what we've been paying them in the past. So that amount,
Okay, well, you got it in the row.
what, is that, where did we come with that amount in?
What is,
Just as I said.
you know, what, way I'm understanding is that was from the old agreement, so we're not locked into the old agreement.
No, that's not, that's,
She has something where we've been working on drafts.
Okay.
so that amount is just in a draft,
That's in
it's
draft.
not set in
It's not
stone.
set, nothing set in stone. The commission sets it in stone.
I gave you my recommendation
Yours, yes.
I gave you one too.
for the.
I just wanna make sure that little things don't go unnoticed, like when we do a beach cleanup, we always have little plastic ties all over the place. I wanna make sure that they clean up their plastic ties and it doesn't become a environmental hazard for us over 15, 20, 30 years. And I would like to make sure that they do not drive the golf carts on our boardwalk, because it's not for machinery, it's only for people. And if they ride on it, then after a year or two, we have to go back and fix them. And those two things are two things that I've noticed about them in our presence, and they become a hazard for us.
Are those in your package to me?
I assume so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on the next item on the agenda? Is to discussion, height athletics. Are there any representatives from the height athletics?
There are two of us here, but on the height, we're not ready to discuss it in detail yet. We have some preliminary information, but we don't have the main thing, and that's figures.
And then, what happened to when they're gonna do a presentation?
We'll get a presentation scheduled after we get those figures, so you'll be able to hear the whole thing.
Okay, sound good.
Can you repeat that, please? Do the chair.
Keep the chair.
Oh, Can you repeat that?
Okay,
Did he say figures?
you know what, they're working on some numbers, I guess, just.
Numbers for who? For what?
City manager, can you explain?
I thought somebody else was spending all the money.
He's gonna explain it to you.
A few weeks ago, some of us took a trip
Mm-hmm,
to visit with
mm-hmm,
Hype Athletics.
mm-hmm.
They have since submitted a proposal, and that proposal is lacking figures. After we get that information and vet it, then we'll bring it to the commission.
Okay.
Through the committee process first.
Okay, I'm gonna say this because it needs to be said. Because I, Commissioner Mary Alice Adams, have been the only one
That you know of.
doing something to protect that jewel down there that everybody else wants to jump up and have some say-so about. It was like pulling teeth to get it boarded up. I'm talking about our armory. Now, I had a grant writer that was prepared and had the funding available for us to apply for us to have that armory fixed up and secured. That would have not costed us anything other than what was already earmarked on our part of our block grant dollars. Now we're waiting for somebody else. I have a problem with that because it was not a consensus that put this on hold. I'm serious, I have a problem with that. And the grant writer that was going to do it wasn't charging us anything. Nothing. See, we sit down here and we complain amongst ourselves, and as the community complains to us about not doing anything, getting anything done, nothing to do. My time is just as valuable to me as everybody else's is to them. I took time out of my busy schedule on numerous occasions with this grant writer to try to make something happen. And it was just on the verge of doing so until somebody come up with a brilliant idea. And I don't, well, hype. We need more than hype athletics. Everybody isn't athletic. We were talking about something for the community as a whole.
Commissioner Adams.
Harbor Shores has an athletic place over here that they built on their.
Commissioner Adams. Yeah, Commissioner Adams, I think there's some misunderstanding about what he's even said. They're bringing a proposal about how much it's gonna cost them to do this project. That's what the proposal is about.
But we haven't sent out anything for anybody to do anything.
We have not. This person, we went and we saw this thing. No, we haven't. But they're just bringing a proposal. We don't have to vote on anything.
And I get that.
Just like the person that's a grant writer, you don't have, they don't.
Okay, but I get that. I get that. But my thing
I'll let
is,
you talk.
that grant money could have
Commissioner Adams.
been in
Commissioner Adams.
motion to
Chair.
match with
Okay.
what these people got.
All right.
Sure. So Commissioner Adams, just like that person that you had to write a grant, I don't know why that person stopped. They didn't have to stop. Who told them to stop?
Well,
Why did they have to
I'm
stop?
going to just,
So right now,
I know, I wasn't even privy to that information. I had no idea.
no, because you're busy.
So
Everybody
I don't
can't be everywhere. Just like a very important meeting today that happened at the health department.
know.
I was 9, I was the only one there.
I was the only one last
Okay,
night.
exactly.
Income tax
All right.
meeting.
So I just do what the commission, what the residents elected me to do.
But I guess what I'm
And
saying.
everybody can't be present, so I just do what I.
You-
All right.
you-
point of order here.
So you
What-
need, if you
Point
have
of order, please.
having an understanding about what is happening before you jump to a conclusion.
No, you need to have an
Well,
understanding of what has happened
Because
to be able to make a valid statement.
Well, I guess what I'm saying
That's
is,
okay.
it's just a proposal
That's
about,
okay, I'm trying to
All
maintain.
right, this is the last statement on this.
just calm
There is
down.
This is the last statement on this from the chair, is that this is just a proposal. This is not, we don't have,
Right.
I get that,
okay, so.
I get that, but they could have worked
Okay,
correspondingly
hold on.
together.
Hold up, Commissioner. The thing is, right now, the cart being put before the horse. We need to hear all options,
Right.
and then the commission, it goes to the
Oh,
committees, and then we come back and say, okay, which option we want to take, so we need to hear all these things. We need to hear from
We who?
This
Who made the decision?
body.
Nobody answered that. We made that decision.
For what?
What are you talking
I
about?
rest my case, okay?
There he is.
Cause I'm always present.
We-
I don't just be here, I be present.
And we hear things in committees all the time, so, so they can bring it to the committee.
Throw nobody under the bus. I'm not trying to throw nobody up under the bus, but
You know, I just think you know, just let it hit itself.
we'll further discuss it, and it will work out. It will work out.
We need to let
But
it
I
all
just
out.
hate for
For
us
projects to go around.
I just hate for us to miss out. I hate for us to miss out on funding that's available that rarely comes by.
Time is of the essence, so we need to,
Exactly, time is of the essence. I'm not sure if it's still on the floor, but I'm gonna look to see.
all right, bring it to the committee. Next item up for discussion, citywide cleanup. Commissioner,
So go ahead.
Go ahead, ladies.
No, go ahead.
what you got?
Put it on his shoulders, big old shoulders.
Mr. Chair, Commission, audience. We are planning 2 cleanups, a spring cleanup and a fall cleanup. One cleanup in April and one cleanup in October. So we want to clean this city up and keep it cleaned up. And our compliance department will be enforcing. We want to clean it up and keep it cleaned up.
Okay, what is the,
We haven't the details yet.
details yet? Okay, working on it. Okay. Commissioner, did you have anything there?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioner,
Thank you, Chair. When I hear the words, our inspection department and the cleanup, all I know is what they've done in the past, is cleaned up on the citizen. We gotta find some way to come back to ground level here and start looking out for the citizen and their conditions. So I don't know what to clean. I know for years, we've had cleanups here for years. And I know the last tire cleanup, we bit some heavy duty expenses out of it. And I can still count 15,000 tires all over the city. No matter. So I'm just making sure that we as the elected officials know that we have to have some compassion for our people. Whatever this cleanup is, the problem didn't start today and it won't be eliminated tomorrow. It's a long-term educational program, understanding about what we have to do to keep our city clean, to have our city clean. So I just don't want to see regulations go after the people.
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, I just want to know, we gonna have citizens clean up, or who else how we gonna clean it?
It's gonna be a citywide effort.
Oh, citywide.
So,
We'll all be involved.
it's like last year, the city sponsored a citywide cleanup, and I felt like it was very successful. So it's just would be a continuation of that, working with the police department with the tire cleanup. And Commissioner Henry, that was not a charge for those tires. That was a grant that the department got. That was a free cleanup. That was that was not a charge to the city. That's a false statement. So that was a grant. That was a grant. There was no charge to the city for that cleanup. And so just like with the citywide cleanup, that cost us something because we had to dump all of that stuff in the landfill. But in order to keep our city clean, we have to do something. And so I know since I've been elected, I've been a part of cleanups. And so I'll continue to do that. And many other commissioners that sit here will do the same thing. So.
Okay.
Commissioner,
Okay, I guess through the chair, my question is, you all do remember that I'm the co-chair of economic development? Okay, so the last item came through there and so did this one, and my question is going to be the same as it had been for the past probably 8 years. Can we utilize, or will this year we be utilizing some of the block grant dollars to put some large containers in several spots for drop off? for the residents. And I guess this is probably going to be during a time where tax season, money was, some people get it back faster, but as some of these people seem to get their taxes, they refurnish their house. I don't know if it's every year, every other year, but don't just throw it out in front of somebody else's house or down the street or in the ravine. Take it over there where the city has supplied the community with some large containers for drop off, or any other household items that give them an opportunity to do a sweep, and let's work together and see if we can maybe put some stipends together for some of the youth. I'll do my part. I'm working on that from another angle, but maybe we can put them both together.
All right. Thank you for your comment. Mr. Hoyt.
Thank you. In response to the citywide cleanup, again, you'll have our commitment from the Benton Harbor Strong Team to do whatever we need to do to pull it together. Just wanted to share with you that this is from the DDA. April 18th, the Benton Harbor Downtown Development is planning a cleanup celebration for the 50th birthday. They'll be focusing on downtown district starting in the city center. And they're also partnering with the Western Michigan Sustainable Business Forum, and they'll be bringing volunteers, and that again is on Saturday, April 18th, starting at City Center. So that's really maybe the first cleanup that's going to be happening in downtown Benton Harbor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Edwards.
Good evening, Commissioner Edwards. On the cleanup on Earth Day, I would say for at least for the last 4 years, I had Andrews University. They would come down and help me do Hall Park. This year, if this don't snow like it did last year, this year we're trying to get down 80, and we wanted to split 40 here and 40 there. Reason why we had so many, because Hall Park is a lot later, and we only have them for that one day, and they can't do Saturdays. So if the city manager wants to throw that in there as far as getting those 40, they don't do Saturdays. Other than that, you can let me know and work it out with you guys. I'm supposed to get a call back second week of March for official date. Because usually we do it on the 22nd of every month, but sometimes it falls on Saturday, so we decided to wait till that second and then make a date. So if that'll help out and work, so.
Okay. Thank you. I think also just add that anybody, commissioner or citizens, if you have some ideas, suggestions, on how the citywide cleanup should go, or even if you have some volunteers that want to work, please, get that information to the city manager's office. As they putting this plan together, they can incorporate, some of those ideas, and also look at some of the resources that may be available to different groups. I know there's a lot of civic groups that help out, just like they did with the last citywide cleanup. And so don't wait till the last minute, don't wait till the day of the cleanup and come, so you should have did this, should have did that. Bring your ideas as soon as you can. So as they put this plan together, they can incorporate some of those things. So that's something that needs to happen. We're looking forward to it. Last item on the agenda is the Earth Day. Commissioner Henry, did you have some information on Earth Day?
Well, I just thought we should do something, and then in the past, we did something for Earth Day, and I'm not sure where I'm gonna be able to be in lead of it, but
Could you get some information as to what Earth Day
Earth
is about?
Day is just a day that we all celebrate to take care of Mother Earth, clean up, whatever it is that we can do, plant trees, whatever we can do to help Mother Earth, to educate the children. That's what we used to do, to go into schools and talk to the children about the earth. And but my purpose this year is for us to really focus on our recycling. What better initiative to start up is for recycling, repurposing, and reusing, and to cut down on our landfill fees and all the other things. So I just want to revitalize our resolution to do recycling. And I don't know where it is, but the 2 locations that we looked at last year or year before last are still there. Don't seem to be going anywhere. So really want to start focus on that resolution so we can start working on it. And Earth Day is the best day to start.
When is Earth Day?
The 24th, 2nd, something like that.
All right, well, through communications, you know, if you can get out any information on that, all we can do is just spread the word, yeah.
Well, we can spread the word, but we can start some work on our resolution. We did do a resolution saying we supported recycling. And so now is the time to move forward with something. Recycle.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Alex.
Okay, I think I sent, Chief some information with you all. And I know some people probably get tired of hearing his name, but I have great appreciation for anybody that can help us with resources, standing up to help march and everything else. In Michigan, actually all over America. But One Love Global is actually a resource center as well. And these young people in their different capacities of their work, they're dealing with different things throughout the country. And upon our communications with one another, somebody may remember something that came about and remember who needed to contact who. And that's where I get a lot of other information from as well. Different conference calls with the Obama Foundation as well. There was a young man that sent me some information. I think I sent it to you guys being the chair. Look forward to our city manager making contact with Mr. Taylor, because this thing is much larger than I think some of us know. It's a global thing, and it has everything to do with the generation behind us standing up and taking and forming shape of their future as far as global warming. It's actual Earth Day. It's actual action that's taking place all over the earth. Okay, and we're going to draw the youth into it, and Mr. Taylor will be contacting the city manager and probably the chair and the co-chair. He's making contact with the superintendent before he arrives as well. But we're going to see what we can do to get the children to participate, as many as possible. Thank you.
We need to go back to item number 1. I understand that what I'm talking about.
Before you leave Earth Day, Mr. Chair, there is a massive event getting ready to be held in the county. And I'll make sure that I get some information on that too for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 1, the metric report. Chief Director McGinnis.
In the interest of time, it's short anyway. It's already 6:40. You got another meeting after this.
Short version.
Yeah. Yeah, we stressed this out. We responded to 588 calls for service on the police side, 58 arrests, 52 being adults, 6 juveniles, 30 citations were issued. We had 4 home invasions, 0 robberies. The department continues to work towards this accreditation process. Our goal is to make it for the October session, which is in the fall session in October. Fire, we had 20 calls for service, 1 structure fire, which we had to have that pulled down, that house that was on Superior and Emory. We actually received the grant and some training on the fire side for Fire Marshal Bruce. This grant taught Fire Marshal Bruce, the department, the resource to teach fire safety to 34th graders. Part of that, we received over 600 free smoke detectors that we'll give out to families. We went to pick up today a truckload full. Fire Marshal Bruce did 13 fire inspections in the community and 1 re-inspection in January. I got the stats. Personnel-wise, Officer Pulley was promoted to the rank of sergeant. He's a 10-year veteran, has been with us 5 years. Humbly, I've been nominated for Michigan Public Health Hometown Hero Award for the state of Michigan for the work on illegal dumping last year. So Mighty Sensitive again nominated me. So that's that. We did some high rise training in River Terrace on the fire side. It's very important for us to make sure we do our high rise buildings, we call them. Public outreach, I talked to you about the 3rd grade, the grant for the fire safety for 3rd graders. Got those things. We're also looking to hold 2 to 3 forums in the committee in 2020. Planning has begun for topics, venues, and host organizations. One of the hosts is not here tonight. I thought she'd be here, but Ms. Swanning is going to host our first one. So that's under work now. Grants, as part of one of the presentations and forums down the road, is we're going to introduce what our next 5-year plan is and what our plan is to reduce gun violence. Then that we're looking at some grants that we may be applying for. One is a cost hiring grant because we need to kind of get a position in place for all these marijuana investigations that we do from the backgrounds. But there's a STOP grant called STOP, which is a school violence program grant. There's another micro grant for violence. And then also, we are in the process of submitting another AFG grant, that's Assistance to Firefighter grant, to get some fire equipment. We need to get some Mako system and some SCBA. And we also are waiting for the answer for FSZBT grant, Distressed Cities, Village, and Town. Got an application in there for also some fire equipment. So January was relatively quiet, but those are some of the things that we've done. I'll take any questions, but I think something was added to our agenda that we can use the last couple minutes to discuss before we move on to the.
Go ahead. One more thing.
Yes, sir.
We got what? You through with that?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
We want him to finish first.
No, I'm done.
It's finished.
That's it.
Okay.
What
Got a
are you
gentleman
addressing?
there. What's your name, sir?
I'm Dan.
Okay, can you go?
That's exactly.
You just keep this up.
Keep it.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes.
All right, my name is Dan Leong, and I'm just here today to just express my interest in being a concessionaire at Gene Clark Park. I understand there has not been a concessionaire there for at least the last couple of years, so I don't know what the process is for that right now. If you plan on having that open for the summer, but I just want to express my interest in some of the things that I've done at parks, and I've been a vendor, one of the concessionaires at Warren Dune State Park the last 4 years, just completed my 4th season there. I recently moved up here in the last year here in St. Joe Township, so which is why when I learned about this park not having concessions in the last couple of years, I thought I'd look into it and see if that may be something that I could do here as well. In order to maybe attract, to make this kind of a major attraction to bring people in, maybe we could do kayak rentals. I have, paddle boards, or you bring in a 200-foot water slide that was at Warren Dunes that I know the owner that that had it, that is interested in selling it. So if there's space that would allow for something like that, I think that could, draw people to Gene Clark, and that can as well help concessions and bring more people there, increase revenue and whatnot. So, so in a nutshell, that's why I'm here today.
Okay, well, we have, Parks and Recreation, Public Safety Parks and Recreation meets on the second Wednesday each month, 5:30. So if you wanna work on something or something, or inquire,
Okay, second Wednesday,
yeah, second Wednesday.
5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I have informed Mr. Leon that we will be going out with RFP for that concession. The time that we're ready.
So be on the lookout for that.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Did we skip the agreement?
We already discussed that. Public Safety Committee meeting, Park Recreation is closed.
Oh, just,
No.
so, no,
Get your
Rob,
information.